In this omarvision tutorial, I'm going to go over creating a database in Microsoft SQL Server. In a previous video, I did an example of how to install Microsoft SQL Server. And here it is. Here's that previous video. And in case I have many more videos and this isn't showing here, you can just type SQL Server to do a search for it. Today I'm going to do how to create a database. So with SQL Server already installed, there's a database engine, and there's SQL Server Management Studio. So I'm going to start up my SSMS, my SQL Server Management Studio. I just type it in the search bar and click on it there. That's an easy way. And let it start up. And when SQL Server Management Studio first starts up, it's going to ask me to which server do I want to connect. And I'm just going to connect to my own computer here. And I'm going to use Windows Authentication to connect. That means that it's just using my Windows logon to connect. And I say connect to the database engine. And here there's a list of databases. There's some that I already have, but I'm going to make a new database with you, and it's this simple. I just right-click, and I say New Database. Then it asks me for a name. So I'll call this SQL Server Training, and the owner, just leave it default. I can leave all these other things as defaults, and then I can say OK. Da-da-da-da, there's a database. Now let's see what's inside that database that I just created. I'm going to have to create a table. So let me right-click and say New Table. So column person ID, and for data type I'm just going to let it be an integer. Where is it? Int. I know there's that data type in here, alphabetical int, and this will be primary key. Down here, the properties, person ID, data type int. I could set a default value. I could say a description, unique identifier for this record. I could set the identity specification. So this is going to be is identity. If I say yes to this, then that means the database will give a value for ID automatically. And that's what I'll do for that column. First name, and let's do varchar 50. Last name, and varchar 50. And that could be a date somewhere up here. Yep, there you go. So we got the columns again. Now we could save it again, give it a name, table person. Okay, close it, refresh over here, and now we got the table person. Now let's try adding records again. So I'm going to say edit top 200 rows, and now I should be able to say Omar, last name, Santiago, and my birth date, 10/10/1989, and then enter. And you see it automatically put the ID there. Now if I put another one, give another date, 10/19/97, the database keeps giving values here, okay, for me. So now I have one table in this database. So I could right-click and see the first 1,000 rows, and it shows me those first 1,000 rows like this with the query that would select those, which brings me to the next thing I want to show you is the query window. So I have my SQL Server training database kind of selected, and I could say new query, and it opens up a query window where I could type SQL commands to this database. See, so here it's showing me that this query window is to this database, and now I could type select star is all the columns from table person, and then end the command, the SQL command, I put a semicolon. Now I could select that command and press execute, and there it could show me the records too. I could also type another SQL command, select star from table person where column first name equals Omar. Oops. And end the command with a semicolon. And I could select just that command and execute, and it selects one record. So if I don't select a specific command in the window when I press execute, and I don't select anything, then it's going to run all the commands. So here I have none of the commands selected in the query window, and I can press execute, and the first command runs and its results are returned here, and the second select command runs and its results are returned here. So that's one table. Now I could create another table. So let me close this window. Now table, new, and let's see, what should we do? Column, address ID. So the data type again over here, let's make it an int. So I could pick it from the list, or I could just start typing int. Okay, and this is going to be a primary key. And let's do the identity specification on it. That way the database gives it its values. So column street, and then column city, and then column, what else is left? State. And lastly, let's do column zip. So the zip, what should I do? Should I make it a number or should I make it text? I don't know. Sometimes zip codes have those additional numbers in them, so I'll make it an nvarchar instead of a number. Let's press save, and we'll call this table address. And let's refresh over here, and now we got two tables. So for table address, we're gonna, table address, I forgot something. So let's go back and edit table address. These are gonna be the addresses of the persons. So I should put a column that says which person the address is for. So let me go back to table design. And now it brings back this screen for me. Some changes I can make, some I can't. But adding a column is a change I could make. So I'll put column name ID to get for the person's name, and that will be an int. All right, so when I make a new record, I can say which name it is. Then let me save those changes, and yes, it let me save them. Good. Let me open a query window again, and let me just see what the names were. Select star from table person, and the command, and execute. All right, so I have persons with ID 1 and ID 2. And now when I put records in the address table, so address ID is a unique identity columns, 238 South Collins, and the zip code could be blah, 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 blah. And this will be the address for person 1. Then let's put in another address for Omar, and then let's put in one for person 2, and that'll be for person 2. So now we got like 3 records in there. Got select star from table address. The first table person is here, Omar and Jana. And these are the addresses, and they have their own address IDs. But you can see Omar has 2 addresses and Jana has 1. They're reporting as 2 separate, record sets over here. I could do a select statement that joins them both. So I could say select star from. The first table will be table person, and I could give that table an alias of A. And then I could say join table address B, and the join condition will be that the B dot column name ID equals A dot column person ID. So now this join should put all the information together in one record set. And there you go. So you can see here, it's the person, first name, last name, birth date. And then it starts with table B stuff over here, address ID, column street, column city, column state, column zip. And it shows a name ID. So now maybe I could do a thing where I don't show a star. I don't show all the columns. I could just list out the columns I want. Column person ID, column first name, column last name, column address ID, column street, column city, column state, column zip. So sometimes you could have the name of a column that's the same in 2 different tables. So to make this more specific, I could say A dot, because this is from table person and I aliased it as A. So I could say A dot column person, A dot column first name, A dot last name. And then for these, let's just put them on a different line. I could say this is from the B table, B dot address ID, B dot column street, and B dot column city, and B dot column state, and finally B dot column zip. So let's see what that comes out to. Let me select it and execute it. Ta-da! See, now the columns don't repeat. Now, if I know that the data that's in the addresses has to have a reference back to person, I could enforce that than doing it with the GUI that way. Over here, there's a thing called database diagrams. So let me right click and I say, I want to make a new database diagram for my 2 tables. So since it says it has to install something for the database diagram support, so I'll say yes. Now it lets me pick the tables I want in my database diagram, so I'm going to choose them all, and I say add. Okay, close. Now this is a nice graphical way to see what the database design is. I have the table person listed over here and then table address listed over here. Let me select them both. This was just listing the column names. I can right click and I can change the view to be standard, where it shows more information about each of the tables. And I could zoom in and out. I hold the control key and I could zoom in and out with the mouse wheel so that they could fit better. So let's just put them like this. Now, over here in the address table, this name ID is supposed to refer to the person ID. And I probably should have named this column person ID. But what I could do is select it and drag a line to the person ID column, and it's going to give me a name for the foreign key. And now they'll show this line here. For every name ID here, it has to refer to column person ID. It would have been nice if I named this column person ID better. So this is the diagram. Let me save the changes I made. And now you can see here it lists diagram 0. Bam. So now if I try to put an address in the address table, but it is not in the person table, it will not, the database will not let me put that address in. So let's go back to editing for table addresses, and let's try to put another address in. Cooper Lane, New York, New York. Okay, and then we'll say it goes to a person with the ID of 99. And when I press enter, it's going to say that no, I cannot put a record in because the insert statement conflicted with the foreign key constraint. Right, the constraint that I just put on that says that the name IDs have to be in the person table. So that's how a foreign key could help protect my data integrity. So that can't happen. So let me press escape. So let's see if I could change the column name to be column person ID and fix that. So let me go to design, and instead of name ID, let's see if I could just change this here to person, enter, and now let me see if I could save that. And it's saved. Good, so I changed the name of a column. Now over here, this should say person ID, so it matches up with person ID. So that means here in my query that I did, that's gonna, yes, they're roosters. Person, they're also screaming goats. And that's it, I renamed the column. You made it to the end of the video. I'm so proud of you. This is my website. The main thing I want to show you is that for any of these videos that you've seen on YouTube, I have the tutorial section, which has the blue links for the projects, and the orange links are the files. Also, you could go over here and play some of the games we made in the game camp.